proxy, it's your birthday, not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of a joint collaboration. This is Moana Nui Podcast and Blerdography presents Blerdkast Live. And tonight we are talking about Musa, Lion of Mali. More on that in a second. In case you're wondering, I am Joy Stevens, your lovely moderator for the evening. And with me also is Mouse. That's all you need to know about his name. He's going to be my co-lead as we talk about the Kickstarter and everything else that's going on with Musa, Lion of Mali. But first, I want to introduce our two guest authors, speakers, artists, however you want to describe yourselves. These are the co-writers and co-creators of this graphic novel, but it's so much more than that. So I want to let y'all talk about it. So we'll start with my top left. TJ, please introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, everybody on the Moana Nui Podcast, Blerdography, Mark, the whole team, you know what I'm saying? Mouse, Joy, Dana, what up? I'm so happy to be back. So happy to be talking to you guys. My name is TJ Sterling. I'm the CEO and creative director at Ray Media. We specialize in incredible stories about Black and brown superheroes in every cool genre that you might have heard of and might not have heard of. And we're here today to talk about our latest book, Musa, Lion of Mali.
All right.
All right. Evening, everyone. My name is Ade Heru, Giant Killer Press. I'm here to promote Musa, Lion of Mali at musalionofmali.com. And I'm here with my brother TJ. We are collaborating on this project. I'm really excited to be on this podcast, to make everyone's acquaintance and to bring this amazing story to your shelves.
All right. So let's, Mouse, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Furious, aka Mouse. It's some long history behind Mouse, but just know I'm Mouse and I help Joy get stuff done. Yes. I'm part of the Moana Nui and Blerdkast podcasting networks.
Right. If you want to know more, go watch Devil in a Blue Dress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But let's get right into it. So I want to start off talking about this new graphic novel that you'll have out it's called Musa, Lion of Mali. And can you help me understand, like, I hear you saying that you wanted to make sure that you are connecting young people with Black heroes, folklore, et cetera, but how did this particular project get started?
So Mansa Musa was a real person who lived in the 14th century in West Africa, Mali to be exact. And I've known about him for quite some time. His life was always interesting to me. Not only what was factual, but was also missing in his history was also very, very intriguing to me. So people who have purchased and support us at Ray Media within the last 10 years know that we typically do stuff that's in like the sci-fi or the cyberpunk or space opera, these kind of like fantastical realms. But we wanted to tell a story and do something completely different and pivot to a more historical, realistic story of somebody who actually lived. So had this thought about this character 5 years ago. I give my boy a call. I say, hey man, like, I got this idea. I got this thing I would love to build with you. Ade is an incredibly talented writer. This dude knows history. He knows the diaspora better than anybody that I know. And I was like, you'd be the perfect person for us to like combine like Voltron and make something really cool with this story. So, he honored me by saying yes. And then we started kind of going off to the races of making this character, making this story come to life. And it's an incredibly important story because so many of us Black and brown folks that live in the United States are from West Africa. Our genetic lineage, our ancestral heritage goes all the way back to West Africa. And, this isn't, while Egypt is cool, most of our people don't really come from there. Most of our people come from West Africa. So to be able to talk about and make a story about one of our heroes, one of our ancestral myths, legendary characters, was an honor. And that's kind of what lit the fire underneath us.
Yeah.
Okay. And Ade, as you mentioned, you are more of the historian, more of the folklore and diasporic knowledge expert. So how close to reality or how close to like factual history is this book going to be, or is it?
I've been quoted as saying we're looking at anywhere between 74 and 78%, only because like so much of what we looked up was actually just, it was hard to find. He's a guy who was larger than life. So even the things that are nailed down, you have to wonder what was exaggerated, right? But then there are so many things that are, lost to history. Our book is about his early life, of which there's very little, if anything, noted. A lot of people, when they think of Mansa Musa, they think of, him being king, richest man in history, pilgrimage to Mecca, ruining Egypt's economy, having a bunch of ships. They think about that, and building the schools and the mosques. But then a lot of that is like, well, somebody jotted some cool stuff down, and we don't know. Like, they didn't really interview him, right? And so we did everything we could to, parse this out and to stay true to the narrative. And then where we saw opportunities to embellish a bit, as well as the idea of, kind of reverse engineering a young Musa. That's where we kind of leaned in. So I'd say close to 80% of it is something you're going to find in someone's history book. But it is worth noting that this is a man that the powers that be went out of their way to really obfuscate his history. Like, there's really no reason you shouldn't know who he is. Yeah. I mean, you know who a lot of folks are who were pretty much villains in history. But this was a guy who, especially for the time, he was the thermometer that everybody was their temperature was taken against. And unless you happen to have an AFAM class or, a woke relative growing up, you didn't really hear about him. But like TJ says, there's a bunch of rap songs about him. It's our job to make sure there's at least one graphic novel about him.
Cool. Good stuff. Mouse?
When we look at this story, this historical narrative, how much research? I mean, obviously, there's a certain, like you said, there's a certain amount of things that are nailed down, and then there's a little bit of exaggeration for the purpose of storytelling. As you were doing your research and getting everything together for this character, was there a lot of additional information and a lot of additional history you discovered about him that you didn't know before, and you're trying to figure out, how do I take this new information and fuse it into the story that we already know?
Yeah. So what's interesting is, again, during the 14th century, a lot of, historic, like, how do I put it? When you rewind the tape and you go all the way back, our griots, they told story through, verbal recountings of situations, and that was our way of, creating a narrative or even telling a story about the history of a person, whether they were fictional or fact. And so a lot of stuff wasn't written down on scrolls or tablets at that time. A lot of it was word of mouth. And Mansa Musa was so famous worldwide that he was the first person to ever be on drawn on a world map, first Black man to ever be drawn on a world map, because of his legacy, because of how incredibly well known he was. He was viral before viral was a thing. And there was no phones. There was no, I mean, it was literally carrier pigeon, or, they had a hawk with, a squirrel on its foot, and they threw him off, like it was that type of time it was on. So when we're researching, we see pieces of his life in sections, and then large gaps. You know what I'm saying? A lot of folks don't know when he died. A lot of folks don't know technically when he was born. They do know when he ruled. They do know where he traveled to, and the recountings of other people that saw him from a third person type lens. And there was a lot of incredibly interesting information about Mali as a nation at the time, and how they were. I think our favorite thing, one of my favorite things, I'll just say, is that they were a sailing nation. They had thousands of ships that they would cast out into the, into the seas to look for knowledge, to explore. I mean, again, Mali was also part of Timbuktu, which is this vast library of knowledge that people came from all over the world to learn from. So they were constantly, replenishing ranks, but also replenishing their knowledge base for the nation, and which influenced the entirety of the continent of Africa at the time. So to see how progressive they were and how interested they were in, again, expanding their knowledge by learning from other people, not going to a place and raping and pillaging and trying to claim something that wasn't theirs, that wasn't our bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, they went, learned the knowledge, and then brought it home and enriched themselves. So that was one of the cool things to learn, that they had ships, they had all kinds of stuff, because I think the picture that has been painted has been a lot less civilized, which is again completely inaccurate based on what we've learned.
If I remember correctly, and I could be a little bit off, but news of his exploits, going, making the pilgrimage to Mecca, messing up the economy in an entire, city state, like all of Egypt, and then to be like, oh, my bad, let me get this back from y'all so I don't ruin your lives. But understanding how much gold he actually had led to sniffing around an investigation of the Portuguese and the Spanish when they were looking for money. And to your point about sharing knowledge and the boats and all the sailing that he had, it wasn't him. Matter of fact, there may be a good half a century between this, but it was a Black man that the Portuguese kidnapped from North Africa that helped them understand how to rearrange or reconfigure their sails so that they could make it around there without getting caught up in the cross streams and everything, which this young Black man called the trade winds, in which we now have that phrase, and they will swear that Prince Henry the Navigator came up with that, and he didn't. No. But there's so much history like that. I don't know. So forgive me for my low grade ADHD. I had to say that, but it's nothing to do. Thank you. But it does bring me to my next question, which is, you mentioned some of his younger life. How far do y'all go into what most people might know of him in this chapter or in this book?
We actually steer clear of a lot of the mainstream. So when we sat down, we knew we wanted to do an epic. We had talked about it being a 100-page book, but the more we dug and the more we talked about this rich tapestry we were building and making Mali, the setting itself, like its own character, we came to realize that we weren't going to be able to get that done in 100 pages. 100 pages by itself is hardly enough to introduce all the characters, all the concepts, people, places, things, and ideas, and roll from there. So we decided we were going to have to go big or go home. And so, we started plotting, and then we ended up with 5 books worth of content, about 500 pages that we want to cover. This first book is the first 100. And so we will get to what people know about Musa in the main. But for the most part, this book is our introduction to a young, headstrong, nobleman who is being set up to lead, but has a lot of lessons left to learn. And so we don't cover the pilgrimage to Mecca. Any of the things that, that people give you in a Cliff Notes about him, you're more than likely not going to see. Yeah, you're most likely not going to see it. So like I said earlier, we reverse engineered a young Musa based on older Musa's exploits. We thought, looking at what he did at this age, or what it said that he did at this age, what would he be like 20, 25 years before that? And then we built him in that way, going backwards. And then we added a couple dashes of some sword-and-sorcery in there as well to kind of spice up the story, so that it's not just a 100-page graphic novel, sequential art documentary. We wanted to go big, and give people something to be excited about, as well as tap into a lot of the African traditional indigenous magics and customs and things like that. So, and even then we don't, because we had 100 pages, we're not very heavy-handed with that either. So we give people just enough in the first book, I think, to get them really excited for the next 400 pages.
We just saw a comment that said Asada needs to be remembered too, which I would thank you. Yeah, just saying. And so I would like to ask you about the world building that you're doing, like all the additional characters, because there's always, some side quests with things. So is there anyone else? And if you want to say that's confidential at this moment, it's fine. But is there anyone else that may come across a young Musa that, cameos, if you will, or anything like that? Who else is in the story?
Yeah, there's quite a few great characters in Musa, Lion of Mali. It's, again, 120 pages, 100 pages of main story and 20 pages of behind the scenes back matter artwork, where we kind of show you a glimpse of what that world building is. And really what's crazy about a 100-page book is that the only thing you can really do with it, especially if the storytelling is done well, is to lay a good solid foundation. So in this particular story, we are focused on the main central characters that kind of, set us off, to the races, so to speak. And that is Mansa Musa, young Musa Keita, before he becomes Mansa, actually, his brother Suleiman Keita, their uncle, the great king Abubakari, White Aminata, her raiders, as well as Ibrahim and Musa's men. So these are all central characters to give you an idea and the backstory behind what Mali looks like. Because really, this is a story about the relationship of the Keita family and the nation that they are leading, which is Mali. So it really is that, and that's the good and the bad. So we kind of get a chance to see what the effect has been for the people who live in Mali, but what the effect is for the people who live outside of Mali, and what their gripes are and how they are kind of butting heads on certain things. And you also get a chance to see some Musa being challenged. He's not necessarily the type that is bested easily, and we do see somebody who can best him, and that is in our antagonist, White Aminata. So she's a fictional character. She does not exist. She's somebody who we made up for the story. But she does represent an allegory of sorts, and if I tell you any more about her, I might ruin it, so I'm not going to. So
yeah, I was about to send you a text.
MoanaMolly.com. One thing I'd like to throw out at you is you've mentioned this first 100 pages, and then I heard you also mention the next 400 pages. Is this a story that you already envision having? Obviously, you've got your beginning, but do you have a definite end to this story, or do you see this as something that could potentially be an ongoing series as long as people, show that there's interest in getting, new pieces of information or new stories, I should say?
Well, I don't want to rule anything out, but I know that when we looked at those first 500 pages, we approached it with the understanding that we wanted to tell a complete story. The idea being that when everything was done, there'd be this complete narrative. That being said, we did make allowances for people falling in love with this world that we're building, for establishing something like a Musaverse, as you will, that where we could actually branch out. And the beautiful thing is these stories, each one of these books is set in a specific time in his life, and there's a lot of space in between. So there's nothing saying that with enough support, enough love, enough energy from the readers, that we don't spin off and do a series or one shots or mini series that take place in between these time periods or in the time period. Musa was meant to be a celebration of the man, the myth, the legend, but also a love letter to the diaspora. We wanted folks to pick up this book and be excited about it, be excited about the story, be excited to see a hero that looks like them. Not have another story about King Arthur or Robin Hood or Paul Bunyan or even Yasuke, but someone who's really who has a direct line, even if it's not directly like, oh, he was my great whatever, but a direct line to where they were from, and go from there.
Similar to how a bunch of African Americans felt when Black Panther came out. Like, it's completely fictional, but everybody in Atlanta is from Wakanda now. We love to talk about that. Like, they shot it here, this is Wakanda. But just that feeling of connection above and beyond, to your point, like something either so abstract or so like one-off. Like Yasuke was not in his native land, even though it's a story about him. But this is the man, the myth, the legend, and the land. So I love y'all for that.
Thank you.
Speaking of, but you mentioned about people that are loving your work and supporting you. Let's talk about the support, right? Because you all have a Kickstarter campaign that's been going on for how long now?
Yeah, we're a little over 2 weeks in. Yeah, so we have another. Yeah, we have
12 days left. Yeah, 12 days.
Yeah, 12 days left until that campaign comes to a close, and everybody basically will get their book shortly after. So it's been a great 2 weeks. I mean, I haven't had a Kickstarter campaign in almost 3 years. It's been about 2.5 since I've done a campaign. The last one was for Joystick Angels, and Kickstarter campaigns are really difficult. They're a ton of work. They really do take a lot of how do I put it? A lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of just ingenuity to continue to spread the word without paying everything you own to a marketing agency to do it for you. So
Right.
One of those things, like the grassroots support. Everybody who's supported this far has been incredible. So we want to just salute y'all. We want to say thank you.
Absolutely.
We are now eyeing our second, third, fourth, and fifth stretch goal. That's what our next goal, our next thing on the horizon is. So we're literally looking at 15K we hit a few days ago, and that basically gives everybody access to free digital copies of the Musa Lion of Mali book, but also digital comics from independent creators like David Crownson or Newton Lillivois and Jason Reeves and a couple of other great people like Roosevelt Pitt, who have amazing independent books about other characters and stories that are really dope. So everybody gets that for free. And the next one that we're really, really excited about is 20,000. When we hit 20K, we're going to give everybody a free upgrade to a hardcover on any book you buy. So any Musa book that you buy, whether it's the Kickstarter exclusive or the standard, you can get a upgrade to a hardcover complimentary on us.
Okay.
20K. So please, guys, share the campaign. Tell everybody about it. Up your pledges. All of that good stuff. Help us get there because we want to get you some cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And for those of you who might be watching right now, or if you're watching this on repeat, the website is down below, www.musalionofmali.com. MUSA, Lion of Mali. I'm not telling you how to spell Mali.com. Right. And so one other thing, so around like benefits of being an early adopter, a subscriber or sponsor to this campaign, and these other 400 pages, is there some sort of like early access? Like what are the, okay, so here we go. Here's some of the benefits. If you pledge $15, you get a digital PDF. Very nice. Makes a nice screensaver. Printed copy at $30. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Because I've been to Dragon Con. I've seen what stuff goes for. That's a deal.
You said it, not me.
Okay, so for $50, you get the printed edition and a digital copy, so you can take it with you on the go. You don't have to worry about packing it. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the
That's what I
Kickstarter
definitely
exclusive edition that actually is currently sold out on the regular rewards, but you are able to access it through like some of the larger tiers when you get to the bottom. Just thought I'd mention that.
Okay, so I would say right here, $50. Here's where we start getting into like adult money, right? Like if you got $50, you get the whole digital copy collection. It's not just the Lion of Mali, but Shattered Visions. Is that the Joystick Rebels?
Joystick Angels.
Joystick Angels. Yeah, my eyes bad. I saw Joy and I got excited. I was like, is it about me?
Could be a cosplay idea.
What up, Mark? I see you.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, man. Got his copy. Thanks, bro.
So let's scroll up to the higher levels because we got folks in here that got good jobs. So, is there a higher level than $50?
Yeah, there's 160. It's a printed bundle. You get everything. All the books I've ever made. It's like it's like almost 700 pages worth of art and story between like all the different books. There's that. You get the digital with those as well as a gift. But we do have quite a few other bigger tiers too, just for folks who are collectors.
So I'm going to talk to 200. Okay, keep it going.
Yeah, this is again, since that Kickstarter exclusive cover is sold out, in terms of just picking it, separately, you can get access to it though through the bigger tier of this 200, where you get every book we've made at Ray Media, as well as the Musa standard cover and the Kickstarter cover, and that's only 200.
Ooh.
Now we're talking. We got shirts.
See, why are y'all trying to take all my money?
Not all of it. I mean, you can
Just a touch.
buy ramen.
See, now I want to talk to the aunties and the uncles out here, the childless people who have maybe 16, 15 and up, nephews, nieces, etc. See, what you do is you get this $300 bundle, right? You keep the t-shirts, you keep the books you want, and then you give the other things to the children's. So, and it's Merry Christmas right there, right?
Thank you.
And it doesn't just, I know Christmas is like a week and a half away. That doesn't matter. What matters is a thought, right? So you can tell them, I got you something. You've been the first, hot off the press. You be the first one to get it, right? It's limited edition and it's Black people. Here's these 3 books as you keep the rest of it. And then, look, you knocked out maybe 2 or 3 different Christmas gifts. That'll be coming, Christmas in July, if you will, or whenever everything is ready, and you get to keep the shirts because I'm absolutely getting these t-shirts.
great.
Guys, the t-shirts are Kickstarter exclusives. I don't know. I forgot if I put that down on the actual campaign, but like you can only get them on the Kickstarter. They're not going to be sold after that. So that's kind of the same cadence all my other campaigns follow, whether it was my original Occam's campaign or Shattered Visions or whatever. Each campaign has exclusive bespoke t-shirts that never get reproduced. So you get them on the campaign, that's it.
Hang on.
Wow.
So $400. Want to be in the next volume. With this tier, you can be drawn into the next book in the series. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm a sucker for this. Once upon a time, a good friend of mine that I've never met, Malachi Bailey, was doing Kickstarter to republish his first book, Her. And he was like, for $100, I will make you a character in the next book. So Her too, Gods and Monsters, does have a character named Joy in it. So yeah, and again, I got adult money because I don't have kids.
As do I, and the idea of being in a comic book is a graphic novel is that
it's very tempting. It is really very, very tempting.
Give in
Do
to
y'all
temptation.
have a character that's like a little bit older, maybe gray hair, super cute.
We do now.
Yaha.
Now now since we're scrolling through and we're having this discussion, it kind of makes me wonder with all the successful Kickstarters that you all have had, have you figured out the secret to going from start to actually completion? Because we know a lot of Kickstarters that have some amazing products don't always make it to the finish line. Have you guys kind of figured out what it is you need to do and when you need to do it so that you can guarantee your Kickstarter makes it to the finish line?
Hell no. It's I gotta be honest, man. It's like standing on quicksand, to be honest. Like Kickstarter updates their website every year with new technology, with new features, with new software. There was a point, back in the day, like I'm just talking about 5 years ago, that you could post links on Facebook and people could see them. And now you post a link on Facebook, they hide that stuff because they want to push you to like making ads. So it actually makes your life 10 times more difficult when trying to promote on a specific platform. And that's why it's like a lot of pay to play. So now you got to have a bigger budget, you know what I'm saying? Like, and there's really no secret sauce to making good Kickstarters. And reaching your goal. I think having a great book helps, but I mean, even incredible individuals like Roye Okupe with Unique Studios has talked about this on podcasts. Like he would get nervous before Kickstarter because it's like, hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to fund, and he'll go make 30 or 40, 50K. Like, you never know when the temperature is and what works and what not. So a lot of it's experimentation. I've only done 5 of these campaigns, and my hope that, in 10 years, I'll be a master at this, because the people who I look up to, guys like, companies like Aspen Comics, they've been in business over 20 years and they make 200K on a Kickstarter campaign. So like the numbers are always, there's always like a goalpost that I'm like chasing that moves, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So when is the estimated like hard copy publish date for people that are investing now? When can they expect to get everything?
Oh yeah. Well, we're looking at once the campaign is done, once all the money clears, once everything's rolling, we're looking at fulfillment within 30, 60 days of close of the campaign. Like we're not trying to sit on this. We didn't come hat in hand and ask anyone to help us bring this vision to life. TJ and I, for the past 5 years, we've been reaching into our pockets, from our day job money and all that good stuff, and paying these artists to help us bring this book to life. We really believed in it, and we really wanted to make sure that it was something tangible. So when we came to everyone, we couched it in what it really is. This is a chance to pre-order, a chance to say, hey, I'm really interested, and I don't want to wait for the con season to start. I'm really interested, and I want this exclusive cover, or I want this one-of-a-kind t-shirt. I'm really interested, and I want to be a part of history, pun intended. Like that's what we came to the world with. And I think we've done. I think honestly, it's humbling for me because this is my first actual campaign. This is the first time I've ever decided to like step into the big boy leagues, and I'm blessed to be able to do it. With TJ, and to see folks the way they've gravitated toward it. Just looking at the page and people see the art. That's all they see. Like they might see a conversation like this, or they might see a post online, but very few of the people who backed it have actually read the PDF. Like they've seen or seen the pre-production version. Mm-hmm. And they still believe in it enough to bring it to life the way they did. It's incredible.
So I'm loving this. So I'm putting my marketing hat on because it's another thing that I do. And I'm thinking of the people in my circles because I am 51. I went to Spelman College, which means by extension, I have links and connections with Morehouse and FAMU, as a matter of fact. Getting this in front of those groups, not necessarily for themselves, not necessarily for Christmas, but spring break, March Madness, so on and so forth, birthdays that are happening with their nieces and nephews and everything in the spring, where they'll be able to have something tangible and limited. I'm giving you something that there's something about the HBCU crowd. They like to have something nobody else has got. And I got no problem sticking this. Oh, not sticking. That sounds bad. I got no problem sharing this in my class of 95 things, in my spell house places, with my, I do another podcast on Thursday night, Steel Sharp and Steel is the name of the podcast. And we can share that. I have no problem sharing that I don't think we're doing it this Thursday, but yeah. And if y'all are welcome to come on that show too, we can keep this going. Cause I need y'all to get to this, at least the 30 grand stretch goal. Cause I want the gold lithograph thing. I want all the things. I want to be in it. I want you to draw me in there. I want my hard copies. I want my gold. So I will do my part. I am now on your marketing team. You didn't even know you was going to get that.
Ancestors bless you. Welcome aboard.
Speaking of welcome aboard, let's bring in Mark. Mark has been languishing down at the bottom of the screen for a minute. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for being fashionably late. Ran into a huge technical issue right before we went live, so I had to deal with that, but I'm here. I am here. How's everybody?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Well, So as we continue this conversation, what we just talked about, like when things are going to be published, when you expect it to be out, rough, ballparking and everything. Since you already have the 500 pages or so, what is your expect? Is there going to be a Kickstarter for each one? Is it going to be like an OG thing? Like if you supported the first one, you continue to, support the next one, you get more. So like, how's that going to look for the next 4 sections of 100 pages?
Yeah. So we, when we were, how do I put it? When we make stories, and I guess I'll speak for me and Ade on this, we kind of go with what the feeling is in here, And when we thought about Mansa Musa, a man that was the richest person who ever lived and still is, has to have a grand life, has to have a life that, again, can only be whispered, on the tongue of folks as legendary. And as we started writing and creating all these things, it perfectly made sense that it was going to be 5 books. Now we put pen to paper and completed, the first 100 of that 500 planned paged epic. But that will, we're gonna focus all our attention on getting everybody volume 1, book 1 within 30 to 60 days after the campaign closes. That's our guarantee and our promise to you that you're not going to have to wait for this thing. What I've learned after doing, just a few Kickstarters, this is my 5th one, that people don't like to wait. I've backed almost 200 campaigns, quite a few of them that I've never received rewards from or I'm still waiting on. And there's nothing worse than being a fan and having to wait. So for us, you want to make sure that you don't wait, you purchase this, that you're going to get it within 30 to 60 days after it closes. We're very confident about that because all we got to do is hit the print button. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We hit that print button. We literally get the book shipped to us. We sign them, we seal them, and then you get them delivered. And that's how it's going to be.
Yeah. And I apologize if I misspoke. We have 500 pages planned. We have 100 written. We have plotted books 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once this campaign is done and folks are able to start giving us their feedback, there's a reason there's a tier where folks can be written into the story. Like it wouldn't be fair to offer that. It wouldn't be fair to offer that story and then to be like, you get to be Guy in Mali Marketplace #2. Like, no, we were actually going to. This is a living, breathing story. This is an epic that we're trying to tell. And while we've plotted books 2, 3, 4, and 5, the direction that we ultimately take it will be based on the feedback that we get, the love that we're shown on the project. We can't call it a love letter to the diaspora and just make it something we dictate. Like this is a story we're sharing with a bunch of folks. When you look at the book and you see the amazing art within the pages, you'll see that we didn't get one artist to do it. We didn't get one person's vision and their pen to bring it to life. We collaborated with a number of artists who had their own take, who had their own life experiences, who had their own place in the diaspora they were coming from. And we want the book to continue to be a manifestation of the vision that we have being modified over and over again by the feedback we get, by the talented people we get to work with.
I saw that used to great success in an anime I was watching recently, To Be Hero X. And you're watching the show, and like when they get to certain parts, the animation style completely switches. Like it goes from like CGI to cell shaded and back. But by the time you get to maybe, I don't know, episode 3 or 4, you get used to that rhythm. You know when something's coming because it's changed. And I think it would be great. I mean, I'm projecting at this point, and not just me, but I think it'd be great if there were artists that this is their character. And when you see that style, even as, something's bleeding one panel into another, the style is changing. Oh, we're about to get back into XYZ. We about to get back into Joy's storyline. I'm just kidding. But by the way, I was adopted when I went to Ghana. I was adopted by a Ghanaian chief. I do have a Ghanaian name. It's Ya from Poma. So okay. I'm dead serious. Y'all about to be sick of me, to be honest.
Listen, so I was talking today about this earlier today, actually. So the first time I ever lived by myself as a college student was with a family of Ghanaians, the Adamakos. And I was talking to David, who's from Ghana, born and raised, came to the States as an adult. They learned about Mansa Musa in elementary school. Just imagine learning about Black and brown heroes as a kid in school like it was normal. And that's what we kind of hope to be able to do with this comic book, to be able to bring that knowledge to people of all ages, but specifically folks who are hungry or want to see themselves represented. So just like I said, it's a powerful time. It's a great time to be a comic book creator. And we're really, really excited to get this book to y'all. Like you have no idea. And it's a click away. And that's what we're really, really just happy that we as fans can serve serve the fans of this book and the new supporters that we've gained and get you something amazing.
When you guys were showing the stretch goals earlier, as Joy made the comment of people from the HBCU like to have things, specifically like limited edition things. Have you all thought about any other type of merchandise that could be, I don't know, maybe like an art book or something, just something else tangible that it's like, as I'm sitting here and I've got my graphic novel and I'm reading it, just another piece of, hey, here's something else that goes along with this amazing story that I'm reading that, somebody else can pick up and say, hey, I like this. What is it? Can you tell me where you got it?
Yeah, this was a conversation we had. We've had a lot, and the more times we've had conversations like this, we get asked it a lot. Like for TJ and I think for us, it was really getting that first 100 pages out, right, TJ? Like gotcha. We knew we wanted to lock in. We never ruled anything out. When we started world building for this series, we knew it was going to be a graphic novel. We knew because that's the world we work in. But we knew that we wanted it to be epic, we wanted it to be cinematic, we wanted it to be breathing. And so we sat down and we approached world building as though this story could have been a comic, a video game, a tabletop game, animated series, a live action epic, a limited edition series on HBO Max, whatever. So we just knew we wanted it to be a quality story. And so we started building the world and looking at maps and looking at timelines and looking at, the history as recorded and as told. And then we also started working with really talented artists to create garb and architecture to try to put together the puzzle of like, why is this weapon here? Or why do they dress this way? Or what does the castle look like? All with the understanding that this could be something bigger. Like when we started sitting down, like I said, we wanted to do 100 pages, and we figured out really early this was a much bigger project. So with enough love and enough support, vote with your dollars, MusaLionandMolly.com. If enough people come to us and say, I will buy that from you, then I'm the type of dude who says, I will sell that to you.
Yes.
And that's just how it is.
Yeah. Because I'm the type of person that I've got 3 of these 11 by 17 portfolios of artwork of people that I've purchased throughout the years. And I'm a big art book junkie. So it's like, if I see an art book, yep, give me that. Let me have it. Give it here.
Same here.
And I've just recently, like in the last couple of years, gotten past the idea that my art had to be grown up and adult in my house. And now I've got prints from Alpha Richardson, from Greg and them, from the last con I went to, autograph posters, et cetera, and love my space so much more. Here's some of Alpha's work back here, as a matter of fact. You can see it.
Yeah, that's her Sam Wilson joint. I got that too.
So yeah, big flash neon sign backer. If I have an art, to your point about backing stuff and then you don't remember what happened to it, I may have already backed this. I don't know if I did or not, but I'm definitely going back and get that written into the next book joint level because I can.
That's one of my favorite tiers, and I'll tell you guys why, because it is something I've offered since the beginning of my my campaigns. The first book I ever did that with was Okemos, and it was funny because only 2 people got it. It was my aunt and uncle. It was my aunt and uncle and a friend from high school got written into the book. And then when we had Joystick Angels, quite a few folks did it. They were like, oh, this is a great idea. So we literally have, I think, about 12 people now that exist within the Joystick Angels universe that are real people that had feedback on what their character was supposed to look like. Hey, I want to have an outfit that looks like this. Hey, I want the colors of my outfit to look like this. I want my weapons to be this. And we really gave them a customized experience. So they now have this incredible graphic novel, this amazing story that showcases their character. And even I asked hey, what are some of your favorite sayings so I can put that into the dialogue of your character when I'm writing it. So it is very interactive. Very interactive. So if you become part of the book, you literally become a framework and a character within the tapestry of the universe. And we do make it a point to really do that very, very well.
Nice. That's awesome. That is awesome. I love everything I'm hearing. What else do you want people to know about this endeavor? Anything that we haven't covered?
I want to reiterate that the book exists. It's real. I'm holding a print copy. And again, I say that in the spirit of, hey, I backed a Kickstarter. Where is it? Because this is a big project. People are talking about it. It's going viral in some circles, and it seems I've been told in conversations, it seems too good to be true. And then I hold up the book and I go, it exists. It's real. I wrote it, and I wrote it with TJ. We created it. It exists. It's as real as my kids. This is something we are very excited to get to folks. We can talk all day about stretch goals, which we will, and we will absolutely honor that and love that. But ultimately, stretch goals only exist because we were blessed enough to be able to bring this team together, to bring this project together. And then we're blessed with folks that believe in it enough to put in their pre-orders on this campaign. And so getting it out the door is the big message. It's great to start conversations about the diaspora. We will continue to, but we want to honor that folks really did put their money where their mouth was, in the spirit of Musa, and said, hey, I want that. And we want to make sure that they get that. And so every conversation will all roads in my mind lead back to, and here's your copy. And here's your copy.
I like that.
I would actually like to ask the 2 of you a question. You mentioned the team that you put together behind this book to create some of the amazing artwork. Can you talk about a little bit of what was it like finding different illustrators to bring the story to life? And just the vetting process of looking for people who had such creativity or who had an art style that you liked, that you wanted to be a part of this project.
Yeah, I love talking about the art team because really they're they're so dope, man. Like everybody brought their A game to this project. Like, we had, because we were thinking along the lines of, it being an anthology, that we kind of wanted to give it an anthology feel. So we knew that we were going to have 4 chapters broken out. We wanted to have 4 different artists, give their take on Mansa Musa, because we didn't think it was fair to just have one artist take on this legendary character. We wanted to give you guys some different flavors and different visual interpretations of what these environments looked like. So it was almost episodic.
Mm-hmm.
And chapter 1, we've got Stanley Obende from Ghana. He looks out his window and sees Africa every single day. So he literally brought that authenticity, that understanding of what the actual place looks like to the book. You've got Welland Bonomo, a Black man from the Dominican Republic, who does some incredible work, and he has been somebody I've worked with for many years, and a day's work with him as well. Just a lot of camaraderie, a lot of ease there of just, hey, we can rely on this person.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 3, we've got Ranthony Height on 2 pages. We've got Mario Teresi, and we've got on chapter 4, Sean Damian Hill, who I've worked with on an entire book, Okina's Dark History. He did the drawing, I did the writing. So we kind of tapped some folks we already knew, and then added folks to the roster who were newer. And, there's always kind of like a little bit of a learning curve, if you will, like when you're working with new people. But even when you're working with people, and we're working on a new project, like, how do you direct them and give them the best information you can? And that was like our thing. And since I'd worked with some of these people before, I'm like, I know what I need to do better now, and I know how to give them more of what they need. So to just bring out the best, because every publisher, it should be your job to bring out the best of, in your artists, your writers, your creative team. How do you bring out the best in them and make them have a good time? So I always translate that, because I'm an artist myself. Like, how does my life become easier? And that's reference material. So the reference material that we started to compile turned into this massive Google folder with just images of everything from that era. And like, yo, this is a perfect opportunity. Let's build the world of Mali from our lens through every means we could. So we had a couple amazing interns, Ray Media interns, who literally created set designs, ships, models, model sheets for the characters, structural stuff for the throne room, and for, as well as the capital of Mali. So it became a thing that when the artists showed up to the job, like, hey, I'm ready to draw this book, they literally had just a glossary of just all of these different pieces they could pull from visually that gave them the inspiration they needed to draw. So it was kind of like, for them, oh, this is easy. I could just get to be me. I don't got to think. I can just feel the script, look at the art, look at what's created, and riff off of that.
Yeah.
We have a comment from someone that not sure what their impetus was, but it is a good question. Considering that, slavery, not chattel slavery of the transatlantic, but slavery as an institution similar to slavery in the Bible has existed since biblical times, etc. And is this discussed at all in your book?
100 pages is not a lot of real estate.
True.
I'll say that. I won't even say it to be politically correct. I'll say that. If the intention was to delve into that, it'd be a very different story. We were going for a sword and sorcery epic with sword play, daring do, and all that good stuff. We also had 100 pages to establish who Mansa Musa, or Musa Keita, is in the story, who his family is, who his antagonist is, as well as to delve into the kind of mysticism that's just at the surface of the story, but it goes much, much deeper. That being said, this is a rich tapestry that we are looking to paint. We have 400 more pages, as well as the ability to delve a lot deeper. I personally would love to do a side story where we do delve into it, where it is something that it's explored, where we look at the main character's take on it, whether he was pro or against or neutral, and really play it up. Slavery, no matter when the time period was, is not cool. But this is a story that's meant to be a cool story. I would not want to muddy the waters for something like this by pulling in something that heavy, because we'd have to hand wave it no matter what your position is. In 100 pages, you'd have to say, oh, and then there's slavery. Anyway, swords and sorcery. Like, I don't want to do that. I would want a story that says, and this is slavery, and this is why it's messed up, and this is how it impacts the world, and this is how your main characters feel about it, and your deuterotagonist feels about it, and this is what it meant at the time, and how it led to the slavery that comes to mind when you think of it, which is a slavery that people hand wave like it didn't exist in the first place. I would want the room to tell that story. This is not a book about slavery. This is a book about young Mansa Musa, or the guy who would be Mansa Musa. And again, in summation, one day we will tell the story of widespread slavery in Mali through the lens of this universe with our modern sensibilities, and it won't be flattering, I'm sure, but it will be a story that is told.
I got an idea that I don't want to say in public just yet, but I might hit y'all up about that at some point.
I was going to say too that, without getting super graphic about this particular topic, like what became of slavery in the United States was a much more warped, distorted, and grotesque version of what was happening in Africa for centuries before. And, when I think about even when folks read Malcolm X's biography, he talks about a job, a 9-to-5 being a slave. And now when they talk about this concept of indentured servitude, everybody who works a 9-to-5 job that doesn't like it, that needs the money, is slave to something. So not to diminish what this question is or what this topic is, because yes, we will absolutely address it. But I just think we need to understand that what was going on in our homeland was much, much different than what was going on in the United States and what they made it to become. So
torture, dehumanization.
Yeah, and it's far-reaching effects that affect us as of right now, and right now, and right now, and right now.
Right. You can just look at me, Mark, and TJ. But you know what? We're not going to get that deep tonight. We're going to move on.
There shades tell the story, ladies and gentlemen. It's there.
Mouse, you were about to ask a question.
As excuse me, sorry. As the work for this story has been done, have either of you had the opportunity to actually visit Mali and kind of soak up some of that tradition, of that history firsthand yet?
That is a good question.
I've not had the chance to. Honestly, I haven't even left the state of Maryland in like 5 years, honestly. Like, because of COVID and having 2 very small children. I not to get too much into this is my odd day job, but for my day job, I was actually director of learning development for a big company out in St. Louis. I had a massive, beautiful office. You can see the arches from it, I'm told. And I'm told because I never went. So because I work remotely the whole time. I would love to go there. I would love to. I wouldn't want to go, and this might sound like cart before the horse or cart after the horse. I would want the whole 500 pages to be done. I want a big omnibus. I would want to go, and I would want to sit there and read it on that soil, and then let the ancestors talk to me. I don't want to sully it by going there, because then if I go, I'm like, I hate the first 100 pages. Like, no, I want to finish this. I want to continue the vision we have, and then go from there. I do have a relative who's visiting that part of the world next year. I might ask him to bring back some soil for inspiration for book 2, though.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, I agree with what you're saying, because I went to Ghana, Togo, and Benin in February of this year, and you do feel, I promise you, on everything I am, that I heard my grandmother's voice. She died in 2007.
Oh, I believe
it. And it was emotional. We did one of the guided tours through the point of no return in Ghana. There was, and a similar point of no return in Benin as well. We went through the quarters and everything. What killed me, and I was just talking about this on Threads earlier today, is we saw the place where they kept everybody shackled and clamped together and all these different things. And like the ground, it looked like asphalt, right? In this area. And you're like, asphalt wasn't a thing then. So what is this? They're like, this is the stamped down human waste that they would not clean out of this area. And it's stamped down to now it's just a part of the ground. And above this dungeon, elementary school and a church.
Crazy.
Wow.
Well, that's messed up.
I'm still mad.
Quick aside, I went to UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad, and there's not a single building I took a class in they didn't experiment on slave bodies. So even then, like even here on this soil, you can't get away from it.
Yep. The entirety of gynecology Anyway, again, I've gotten us distracted because I will do that. You know,
I
need
will-
like a weird witch woman or something like that. You know, with the sorcery thing. So anyway, what I also wanted to touch on with this project is everything. How long did y'all actually work? Because I know it's an idea for a while, and then things slowly start to come together, and then it gels, and then it clicks. How long from click to Kickstarter have y'all been working on this?
Yeah, it's probably about we spent 5 years working on it, post like from the phone call that we had till now. But I'd say probably about 6 months to a year before that. The idea was gestating in my head, and for me, when I think about creating a new story, I really want to feel it. Like it's got to speak to me, and it's like if it's an idea I have, and the idea keeps coming back, I know that means the ancestors are speaking to me that, hey, this needs to be done. You need to do this. This is something that means something. I've never made comics for ones and zeros. Like I'm not here to, take everybody's money, MusaLionofMali.com.
There you go.
But this isn't about making money. This is about, delivering a service to you guys, really serving you, the community, with an incredible story and a gift, from our subconscious, our brains, our hearts, our minds, to literally create something that's never been made. And, for a small fee, you get a chance to be a part of something. So I do think it is really for us. It drove us. It haunted us in a good way. We felt it, and we knew that we had to get this one to the finish line. And when we did, it was a really powerful feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
I actually have an interesting question I would like to ask the both of you. You mentioned David Crownson earlier, creator of Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, and now you two have created this book about Musa. Why is it important that we get stories of historical African or African American legendary characters such as Musa or Harriet Tubman, or you can pick anybody else, and tell their stories in the space of a comic book or a graphic novel? Why is it important that we get stories like that?
I was raised to believe that a man should look like his God. And then as a writer, it became known to me that that's especially true when you're creating that God yourself. And we're in a world where every single thing about who you are, if you're black and brown, is programmed. Like from the way you speak, to the way you dress, what you find acceptable, to how you feel about yourself and even your own family members, to the way you have sex. Everything about you is who you are through the lens of a controlling power, the powers that be. And those people tell you who the heroes are. They tell you that George Washington was a great general, although he was documented as being incompetent. They told you he had wooden teeth, although he just pulled the teeth out of slaves' heads and made dentures. They told you he was a great champion of freedom. And meanwhile, they only let his slaves go after he died because they threatened to kill his wife, his widow. They tell you all of that, but then they'll also tell you Assata Shakur is a terrorist. They'll tell you that, Fred Hampton was the worst kind of guy ever. And so it's incumbent upon us, especially those of us who are the modern day griots, to tell the stories the way they should be told. We should be the heroes of our own story. And as Black people, especially, we get the luxury of looking at history and seeing actual heroes, Harriet Tubman and, Nat Turner, folks who fought for something. We never needed a Luke Skywalker or Peter Parker or Tony Stark. Those are nice to have. It's nice to have Sam Wilson and T'Challa, but I live in Baltimore. I'm in Tubman City. Like, I'm in the place where she ran all the numbers. She killed her own husband because he was going to betray the movement. Like, that's a superhero.
Modern day Okoye. Yep.
Yes, exactly. And so it's really important that people get to tap into that. Like, Black Panther was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful example of Black excellence. Like, I personally have issues with the film, and I'm on record as saying as such. But there's no denying how awesome it was to see all that melanin in action. But at the end of the day, Wakanda's not real. At the end of the day, the movie ended with the guy who's supposed to be our hero giving laser spears and flying cars to the colonizers. Like, that's what happens when you don't control the story. That's what happens when you don't control the story.
Hashtag Killmonger was right.
Hashtag Killmonger was not wrong. I guess he was right, but he was not wrong. But
he
the
was not
issue is,
wrong.
but the issue is that ultimately we don't own Mansa Musa. We own Mansa Musa, and that's why the story needs to be told.
Good question from Robert. Did y'all get inspiration for the swords and sorcery aspect of it from West African folklore?
Oh yeah.
So within the first 100 pages, we stuck to a small drop of, sword sorcery magic element. Like we honestly wanted to kind of explore something that made the Keitas, that Keita clan, different. And that's why you kind of get to see a little bit of what their, mystical power is within the story. Now we are absolutely planning to explore and really go deeper into African folklore, like the Orishas and some of the gods and goddesses that lived in that particular area within the next, 4 books that are coming up. So that is definitely something that Day and I have briefly chatted about. But as of right now, again, there's only so much we can cover in volume 1. We'd love to be able to cover it all, but again, the book wouldn't be here if we were still writing it. The book would be still in the Google Drive folder, just kind of chilling and waiting for us to get to the next chapter, So we wanted to see what y'all thought. We wanted to get the temperature of the room. And so far the temperature has been, exceedingly welcoming to this story, this idea, and what we're trying to build here.
Absolutely. But just know that I'm practicing in a number of ways. Like I have my traditional religion. I'm wearing my ilekes now. I'm Omo Obatala. I'm all that good stuff. So I dig from that well as from just ability to try to tell the story. It's important that we get tapped in, and that we're kind of true to that. TJ talks about the ancestors, blessing this story, and I do really feel that they have, because of how easy it was to tell it, how easy it was to get it, to market, and the success we saw. We hit goal in the first 4 days. Because something about this really spoke to people. So people heard what they wanted to hear and saw what they wanted to see. And that's a blessing in and of itself. It feels like this is a project that was meant to happen. It's a blessing to be a part of it.
Now, just to clarify, guys, real quick, our quote unquote goal was an initial ask.
Yeah.
And the initial ask just satisfied so we could print this book for you. But our real goal is to be able to get you guys a hardcover graphic novel, some exclusive stuff that's only available when we start breaking those records and knocking those stretch goals out. So behooves you to get in, up your pledge if you've already got one, up it, get some more stuff, or continue to tell everybody about it, share this thing every day for the next 13 days or 12 days so we can hit these goals and we can get you guys more stuff.
This ends on the 31st?
The 28th. The 28th is campaign ends again, and we're on the 15th. So I know there's a little bit of a time difference. I'm in LA, you guys are on the East Coast, but in about 12 days and change, we done.
Okay.
Now you mentioned that you hit your initial goal in the first 4 days. Were you expecting to hit that goal, or were you shocked or surprised once you hit that threshold, and then you was like, now what?
I can't. I have zero expectations. I guess I could speak for a day and myself. We had no idea what it was going to do. This was not a pre-existing campaign. This was not a pre-existing book. That's not like, hey, we're collecting an omnibus of like the first 400 books or 400 issues. We honestly had no clue what it would do. We just were honestly blessed and grateful that, people really showed up to what we were doing, and they believed in, throwing some coin our way to try to make it happen.
So I see someone in the comments put that they want to see more Black stories for Xmas, and you mentioned that we do need to tell stories of our, not only our ancestors, but we need to tell them stories of us. What other legendary Black figures, whether it be your Harriet Tubmans, your Musas, your there you go. What other historical figures whose stories we could tell?
There's really a lot, right, Heru? There's so much.
Within the Musaverse, there are people who exist in the 14th century that are of note. I think when we talk about this being a conversation starter, one of the things that we have the ability to tap into is the fact that, Mansa Musa is the most famous guy from his time period, but he's not the only notable person from his time period. And so people ask, like, well, what would you do with this? Would you do this? Would you talk about this? I think there's an opportunity there if we get serious enough. If the support is there, musalinedmolly.com, for us to really take a look at the world at that point, right? And then kind of create that version of the continent where people who are unsung heroes or unsung villains can have their names known. Like history, we know who Hitler is. And I know we know who Hitler is. He was not a good guy. He's still pretty famous. There are other people throughout history who've left their mark in positive ways and negative ways. But because, again, we have this narrow lens of what we're told is acceptable, who we're told who the heroes and the villains are, who the main characters are in this reality we live in, it's on us to dig deep and to bring those stories to folks. I think it'd be really awesome to expand, this version of Mali and to the entire continent. But I also think it'd be really great to pay homage to the heroes who've been, throughout the world. I don't think Alexander Dumas gets enough credit for what he did. Mm-hmm. And there are people who just don't realize that a Black guy did all that. But I don't think there's also enough conversation about who he was and the kind of mind he was to generate those stories. I would love to see that. I would love for Bass Reeves to get his flowers. We see him every now and then. He gets brought up and they go, well, they based the Lone Ranger on him. I was like, yeah, no, but this was the dude who was just terrifying. He was Batman before there was a Batman. Right. He needs to be known. And so I can't rule out telling any story. I just know that this is the one that TJ came to me with because someone came to him from a higher plane and said, Ray Media is the engine for this. This is these are the gears that need to turn. And again, I was blessed for my brother to say, hey, I don't think I want to do it with anybody else. And so we've been working on this. This is a labor of love. This is nothing but intent. This is nothing but us being really excited to see what we can make together. This is our first project together. And I know that we're already signed on for another 4 books at the minimum. So we'll be doing this again real soon. And I would like to point out that while it took 5 years to bring you this book, that was so we could figure out the recipe. We do not anticipate it being another 5 years before the next book, because by the time we did the 5th book, I'd be a grandfather, and I'm not trying to do that. So it was 5 years to figure out the recipe. TJ refers to it as a gumbo, right? So it took us 5 years to figure out the recipe. Now we opened up the restaurant.
Nice.
We'll have the grand opening. You can come and keep getting your bowls of it.
Since we're talking, intent and bowls and whatnot, options, anime, thoughts on doing that with this?
Yeah. So first, I want to just quickly shout out Megascope Entertainment and John Jennings, because he's definitely been a soldier for the cause of Black and brown stories about our heroes. Queenie, when you're talking about Alexander Dumas and the Count of Monte Cristo, they have an incredible book called, it's actually the Count of Monte Cristo, but it is a futuristic twist on the story. So him and his company have purposely taken figures that have existed and created narratives around those people, and made some really great graphic novels that I know I own quite a few of them. So if you guys haven't checked out John, please check out John and what he's doing with Megascope. When it comes to larger format stuff that's visible, like an animation or a game, tabletop, movies, all of this stuff, it starts with grassroots support, and I feel like a lot of people sometimes forget, I know I do, that it took them 40, almost 50 years of content before they ever made a Spider-Man movie, before they ever made an X-Men movie, before they ever had anything that they could make into a multimedia form. They had libraries worth of content, and this is our very first book. We were brand new to this particular IP. We're brand new to this character. Meaning, some people forget, Iron Man wasn't even a popular character. He was never a popular character. I always liked Iron Man. I liked side characters. I was never a Captain America fan, but the books that sold at Marvel were, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four were the best sellers. The Avengers, Thor sometimes. So Iron Man was one of them characters nobody really cared about. You know what I mean?
At best.
Exactly. So it took years and years of great Iron Man stories in comic book form, then eventually animation. They obviously would have some games here and there. But, when it comes to the big stage, the movies, they needed that library of content. And what our goal really with our companies collectively is to build that library of content, and then gradually move into those other realms in a
Mhm.
holistic way, not where we're trying to offload an IP and sell it. You know what I'm saying? Because so many people come up with great ideas and they're hungry and they're like, hey, I got to pay my rent. I got to take care of my kids. I try to get this car note taken care of. So they sell Squid Games and, Netflix makes $1 billion, you know what I mean? Like, and they lose all these things that they bled for. We don't have an interest in losing what we bleed for. We want to own it.
Mhm.
And I think the ownership is really that generational wealth, not just offloading
Yeah.
it to a streaming service for them to, dissect it,
Right.
all that other stuff.
Would you call that Netflix and shill?
Hey,
Not bad. We got another question from the audience. What was the most surprising fact you learned when you were researching this project?
Actually, for me, I think it was just how integral his Musa's brother Suleiman Keita was. Like, he was a character who would come up, and he was a character who actually rules after Musa in real life, canonically. But to see, the potential in that character, to see, what was documented about him, and then to see the version we were creating, how he took his own shape and how he became, a major part of the plot, as well as this big subplot that we're building. To me, that was one of the most exciting things, was having yet another main character. Like, Musa is the backdrop and the character in and of itself. Sorry, Mali is the backdrop of itself, in and of itself. But we have Musa, we have Aminata, who's also very, very critical to the story. But the more we kept writing, the more these other characters started to float to the top and become like very, very necessary to tell the story we wanted to tell. And before we knew it, like Suleiman, I think he may have ended up your favorite, right, TJ? Like, you big him up quite a bit, yeah.
yeah, I talk about Suleiman a lot because, again, he was the successor to the throne, and I think the way I felt like it when I was researching was by design. It wasn't by accident. It was something, you know, again, I don't. Moose's rule ascension to the throne is a little bit different than Suleiman's. Like, they're very, very different if you compare and contrast them. To me, he's a character that's got a person that has so much to be explored and to talk about and to learn about. So I in agreement with a day there.
Well, one other thing that I've been thinking about, as we've been sitting here, and I'm just thinking about the breadth of this project. You mentioned early on, like at the top of the hour, that you normally do different things. More cyberpunk, futuristic, so on and so forth. In those little interstitial places where you said, like, the books that you have planned out, there's the gaps in between. Have you thought about leaving space in there for some sort of crossover, if possible? Or is that too much pandering?
Uh, you know, every other, no shade to any of the other publishers that make black comics. More power to them. Do what works for you. To me, crossovers are something that's been milked to death. Like, every company's done it. The Images, the DCs, the Marvels, Dark Horse. Like, everybody has done a crossover. Everybody's done a new variant of a character or a universal this. And I think that there's something great about simple stories that begin in that end. And I'm down for like a side story within the story. I'm down for bits and pieces of things that can describe the universe better, or characters better, or backstory, if you will. But yeah, the crossover thing doesn't as excite me as much as just telling a great story that somebody can pick up one book, finish it, and say, hey, here's a new thing I can jump to. And we don't got to worry about all the cross pollination of different stuff that confuses people.
Plot holes and things left undone.
A lot of comic readers are confused on a lot of books because, like, it's going in so many directions, and there's always a new number one for something every year. Restart and refresh characters and arcs like every year. I mean, DC's done it so many times. We had Absolute, but then we had Future State. We had the New 52. Like, there's always a new something to kind of catch up on. And I just think that the reason why manga outsells comics 10-1 is because they're not interested in the commercialization of a manga. They're interested in telling a great story, getting a good team behind it, and creating a story that can start and that can end. and it's not gimmicky. They're not trying to kill a character off to piss people off so they can buy books and they can up sales. That's just something American Engine does.
Looking at you, Shonda Rhimes.
So, you know what I mean? Like, we just want to tell great stories, and that starts one book at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all new, all different, same old, same old. No, I agree with TJ there. I think for Musa in particular, everything that we do with the project needs to be intentional because we're trying to respect the history. We're trying to respect, the fact that people that pick up the book should be able to put it down and go do research. And so for that particular project, it would have to be something very specific. And it'd have to be something, I think, native to that universe for it to make sense. But in general, to TJ's point, crossovers have their time and their place. And that was when sales were really flagging in the 90s. I think an IP that has its own strength, that can stand on its own 2 feet, doesn't necessarily need to have a line-wide, like world-changing, status quo-altering event every few months. And that's how I feel about it as well. I think you and I are of the same mind on that.
Good points. No, you make very good points. We have another question. How did the two of y'all even meet?
Yeah. So, man, I gotta shout out to everybody in the DMV. Like, I love the DMV. I love the people. I love the vibes, the food. Just it's like one of my favorite places to visit when I'm doing conventions. And I think I first came to Baltimore Comic Con 2016. I met Ade Adacon at 2017, and me, I happen to be the guy that stands out in the aisle and greets people one-on-one and pulls people from the aisle. And I'm very aggressive about building a relationship with the people who are walking on the floor because I am one of those people and I care about what they want. I care about what they're interested in. So me, it's like getting to know people. It's building something. And pulled the day in. We talked about some of the stuff I was making, and Dave's been one of my core supporters, one of my core people in my life. He's like, hey man, whatever you're doing, I got you. Whatever you want to build, I got you. I'm going to support you. And for me, it was just love. You know what I'm saying? It's like brotherly love almost immediately. And I felt some type of way because I was like, man, he's a good dude. He's a solid cat, and I see that he wants to build and make his own universe of characters. So we chat about that. He'd tell me about Shadow Boxer and what he's planning and some of the people he's working with. So I could always see that we were running in step on lots of different things. And for me, when I work with people based on how we vibe and how we connect and how our chemistry is, as colleagues. And it's not like, hey, I don't want to work with somebody because they have a big following or because they have more social media, impressions than I do. Like, none of that fake shit matters to me. I can't stand it. It's the worst type of way to do business because there's nothing authentic about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
the house of cards.
Exactly. Like, it's all about the foundation we're building. If you want to build on a weak foundation, you're always going to falter in some way, shape, or form. You might not get as many hits, or you might not have as much support. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you're doing it right, then you're always going to come out on top. You're always going to win the way you're supposed to, and that translates to people you work with too. So, I said it was a blessing to be able to meet him, link up with him and his family, get to know some of the stuff that they're passionate about, and that's Baltimore Comic Con 2017.
2017. Yeah.
Mark?
So I kind of want to take this next question in a different direction. I want to talk about indie comics and the industry as a whole. It seems that the year 2025 is the year for Black content creators to be in indie comics and doing self-publishing. What is it about indie comics that attracts wannabe? I don't want to say wannabe in like a negative sense, but attracts future creators to that medium to want to go and self-publish their own stories, like what you have done with your career?
I say it's freedom, right? Like the ability to have your own story, bring it to people, to own their reactions, to own your profits, to be able to decide where your story goes from there. There are a lot of people, sadly, who use, the indie space as their springboard, right? They go, if I can get enough people to buy this, then I'll get picked up by Marvel and DC or whatever. But that's not the lion's share of people. In my experience, again, I don't have TJ's 10 years of running a successful company behind me, at least not yet. But when I look at the indie space, to see people who have a story they always wanted to tell, and they believe in themselves enough to, to put their money where their mouth is, to put their time where their mouth is, which is more important than your money. Like your time, you'll never get back. And they said, hey, world, this is what I made. And they own the reaction. They own the love. They own the hate and the vitriol. They own the criticism. And if they do it right, they own, becoming a legend, becoming a myth in that regard. And that draws people in. And 2025 has been great because Black people have been going out of our way this year to be heard, because we've been yelling at people for a really long time about a lot of things. And then certain things happen after November where we got to say, I told you so to a lot of people. And we go, well, while we got your attention, and I'm still on this soapbox, sword-and-sorcery.com. And that is why I feel like this 2025 it's been the FAFO year, right? The fuck around and found out year. Yep. And we're like, okay, well, you see, we're here now. We were okay to just be left alone. You didn't want to leave us alone. You didn't want to leave us alone. So now you woke up a sleeping giant. And part of us, because we are such a creative, dynamic, innovative people, is we are storytellers regardless of the medium we work in. And so a lot of us are waking up, even in the indie space of comics, and going, I want to tell this story about what it means to be Black through these different lenses, and go from there.
I'm not an indie publisher, but just my thoughts about that, people gravitating to indie because they do have the talent and the creativity to eschew the formal capitalist machinery. Mm-hmm. I need money to make this. I don't need all the in-betweens and the go-betweens and the extra folks who want to grift in and get a certain percentage of blah, blah, blah for doing absolutely nothing. And then take your option, your work, and then put it on a shelf so you can't do anything with it. Like all the nonsense that comes with all of that versus, hey, I want to do something cool. Anybody want to put 5 on this? Because this is what I'm doing. And then finding your true audience as opposed to something manufactured and potentially fake that is the formula. And for me, I think some of the best things that have come out this year have not come from major labels and major names. It's come from the more authentic, more genuine, differing levels of independent, but independent works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. There's also there's 2 sides to it, and I think another side that we also kind of have to the elephant in the room would be, it's like, hey, I'm making comics and IPs just to shop for content, to films and to TV and all this other stuff, and I'll be honest, and I did sound like the mean dude in the room, but like I have a little bit of a problem with that, because to me it's not the holistic way of making comic books. It's not, you're not making comics for comics. And I'm a fan, diehard fan of comic books and storytelling, and I do think there's the best way to really make something incredible is to like have a holistic intention, to not be just in it to pitch a movie, because it will lack a certain level of soul. It will lack something. So my thing is like, if I could give any advice to other creators, it's like really create something that you want to see that's different, that's unique, that is inspired. Because when you're making something that's inspired, it really does transform the work. The work becomes a life of its own.
I think that's very factual. Because when I look at the artwork for your book, for example, I can just tell the level of care that was put into it. I love it so much. It's so engaging and just draws you in, and once you just want to know more of the story. So that brings me to probably one of my favorite questions I love to ask comic creators when they come on my show. Art versus versus the words. What's more important in your mind when it comes to making a comic? Is it the illustration, or is it the script and the dialogue and the words that bring everything together? Or is it something unique between the two that make graphic novels and comics and manga the medium that it is?
I'll say this as a guy who's strictly a writer, then I'll let my multi-talented partner speak. I am a writer first and foremost. I was an artist in my youth, but I was a lazy artist. I didn't want to put in the time to get better at art. Writing's always just come naturally to me: dialogue, world building, etc. And this is a collaborative medium that people buy for the pictures. But honestly, without the pictures, it's not a comic. And so even as a writer, I feel as though the illustrations are what make it a comic. You can say what's more important in the history of storytelling, the spoken or written word versus, pictorial art. And that's a real debate to me. But if we're talking comics, a comic book or a manga or manhwa is not that without the art.
Yeah, this is an interesting question because, guys that were my heroes growing up were like Todd McFarlane or, Brian Benjamin, who's Jim Lee's protege, guys who were incredibly talented illustrators. And let's say we use Todd McFarlane as an example, who, wanted to write and tried to write, but wasn't great at writing. And you get a lot of flack about not being a great writer. But, Todd McFarlane's one of the most important comic book artists like ever in the history of the medium. Like his covers have been recycled more times than not. There's literal fan clubs just for people who are collecting covers that are riffs off of his original Spider-Man cover. So like, I do think the art is especially important because it does capture the imagination via the visuals. Like, you know what I'm saying? It does spark something in your brain that's, oh man, I've got to get into this. And I will say though that like, while a story might be forgettable if the writing is bad, a story that has great art and great story combined are like unforgettable, and those become like the Watchmens of the world, or the Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, or even if you look at like one of my favorite Superman stories. A lot of people debate between like All Star Superman and like the Death of Superman, or like All Star Superman, and my favorite is what's the name of it again? Superman Red Sun.
Oh yeah.
To me, it's the quintessential perfect Superman story. So like a Kingdom Come, like it's absolutely perfect with art and story. Kingdom Come's another example, bona fide classic, because again, we're talking about a book that has art that is just as impactful and powerful as the writing. So that's like reaching the top of the hill. The zenith of comics is when you can have a writer and an artist be perfect on both. And it's really, really difficult to do. So it's a loaded question. I'd love for perfect on both, but like I'm also kind of cool to look at a dope ass book with some fly pictures in it too. So
Yeah.
Now, when the two of you started working together, obviously, I remember you saying that it was just such a natural vibe for the two of you. What were some of the challenges or difficulties that the two of you together faced while working with each other for the first time?
Well, I mean, I think for TJ and I, the world, just like the book, the story, the world, all of it came together. I'll put myself out there and say, for me, translating my day job to the odd day job was something I struggled with and still continue to tackle, because I'm corporate. Like I'm a corporate dude, and I say that because that's just what it is. And so, entering this space, it was really hard not to treat it the way that I treat the day job. Because, and again, not to say that I'm a terrible boss or anything when I'm doing the day job stuff, but I often in that setting don't get a chance to make the space for the humanity of the folks I'm working with. But TJ, when he approaches this, like he said, he approaches it based on, pure intent, wanting to be in a beautiful collaborative space, the vibe of it. And so for me, it was an adjustment to be able to sit there and go, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. When the part of me that the day job is just like, no, I don't think, no, trust TJ on this, trust TJ on this. And so I'll say for me, the hardest part was really stepping into a space where I was being, I think, a tad harsh in my criticism of how, let's say someone might have been late on a page. or something like that. And just the part of me that is just like corporate is just like, oh, but the part of me that really needs to own that I'm a part of this space and supposed to be a collaborator, supposed to be breathing life into this world, really had to come to the forefront so I could own the fact that, this was going to be made when it was made. You can't rush. You can't attain perfection. You damn sure can't rush the next best thing to perfection.
Right. You're trying to set milestones and Gantt charts, trying to put people on a performance improvement plan.
That's what I'm doing during the day. Like he and I are talking like once or twice a week, and we're getting the pages in eventually. It's a beautiful thing. But the rest of it is like 40 plus hours of me being a director somewhere with 25 plus people who depend on me to have my mess together so that they can, whatever. And then that's a very different world. That's why I call it the day job and the odd day job. Like I'm really trying to own my place here in the odd day job. And again, it's a blessing that this is my first chance and that TJ was there to help me along the way, to really help me appreciate the beauty of this, because he's coming from a beautiful place and he wants to keep us all there.
Speaking of the day job and the odd day job, we'll get to that. Yeah, I think we got into some of that in a second, but before I forget my question, is there a plan for you to move into doing this full time? Is that one of your goals, or are you balanced now the way things are going?
Oh, I've never had balance a day in my life. That's the sad part. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to be a dad and a loving husband and a reasonable neighbor who'll help you shovel. I'm still trying to figure all that out. I was way too deep into the day job. I'd like to have more time for the odd day job. I've lost a lot of time being focused on being comfortable and being paid. My dad told me when I was a kid, you're gonna make somebody really rich someday, and didn't realize what a curse that was. Yeah. Because what he should have said is, you're gonna be really rich through the den of your own work, your own effort, and your own inherent and innate genius. Is what you're supposed to say to your kids. What I say to my kids. And so now I'm really trying to own the fact that there can be equilibrium. I can have a day job and I can have the odd day job. It was always an either or prospect for me. And the reason the odd day job isn't happening until now is because if I'm putting them on the scale, one is like, oh, you get to make all this money doing whatever, blah, blah, blah. And this one is you get to start from the bottom. And you're not gonna be Drake for a long time. And I'm like, I got a wife and a mortgage and 2 children and a car. No, we just got a minivan. I'll catch you when I catch you, comic books. But now I realize the folly of that, and I think the beauty is being able to do both. I look at TJ, and I will continue to give him his flowers while he's here to smell them. TJ's got a day job. TJ doesn't do this 100% of the time, full time. He has a day job. He has family, friends, hobbies. He goes to the gym multiple times a week. He does all these things. And he still finds the time to, to go to several cons a year, to put out new books every year, and to do that. And so I look at that and I go, I want to be him when I grow up. I want to make that happen.
Okay. And how do you all decide as you're going forward, or even with this entry into this series, who does what? Like I know you said you're pure, or you focus on writing, but how do y'all divvy up the responsibilities, for lack of a better way to put it?
Yeah, it's just kind of, I think we're playing to the strengths of certain things. I mean, when Ade and I sat down and penned most of what was going on within the entire framework of the plot and all the script, that's me and him writing that together. It's me and him cooking up a lot together. And then, there was a moment where I had to veer off and start, managing and, kind of growing the stable of artists that were going to be behind it, while he went and continued finishing a lot of the writing that we started. So just kind of figuring out where some of the strengths lie, and where some of the opportunities were, like, hey, this person, you've got this connection, you can jump and talk to this person. And we still do that to this day, where it's like, hey, Ade knows somebody that I don't know, and he's going to talk to them. And then maybe I just, ran into somebody through my travels here in Los Angeles, where I'm building with people, and now they want to get a copy of the book and they want to read it. You know what I'm saying? And, I don't know if anybody peeped it, but it's like, the first week of the campaign, Jaleel White, Mr. Steve Urkel, a legendary figure within Black cinema, Black TV, American culture, period, was one of the first people to read and review and talk about Musa Line of Mali on social media. One of the very first people to do that. So it's like, have the opportunity to build with people and network with people, and see opportunities as they come, is really just being flexible and agile. And that's really what Ade and I do. We see an opportunity, we see opportunities to build and network with people and meet people and show them what we're working on. And we veer off and we kind of divide and conquer, because with a book of this scope, this magnitude, there's always something to do. Always. I mean, Joy, literally, Day and I were having a conversation this morning because I was speaking to a lovely young lady at basically she manages the lists of all of the HBCUs that are apparently there's a network
Mm-hmm.
and she manages the entire network in terms of who signed up and the information. So she was extending me a lot of that information, extending us so we could reach out and talk to them about the things that we're doing because we'd love for all of the HBCUs to know about that stuff. So in that moment, it's like, hey, I got a lead. I'm gonna head over here. A Day's got a different lead. He's gonna head over here, and then we come back, and then we, take all these pieces and keep putting them in the pot. So, yeah, a lot of divide and conquer energy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to do it as well. But I think that's really possible because this is a project that's got people really excited. It's not like anything that a lot of people have seen. I can't say it's like it's never been done before because I don't know that for sure, but I know that we're striking at a very opportune time to get eyes on this and to begin this conversation. And there are people who are really just tired of the same old, and they're being very vocal about it and they're voting with their dollars. And we're blessed that, that we get to be an alternative for that. We have folks who are backing this campaign from all walks of life, not just from, our communities, but we're people who just see it and go, that looks interesting. And then, every penny they put into it is a chance to make this something bigger and better and something more robust. And TJ and I we do get to, war room it and brief on it and really try to play to our strengths, translating our skills in this space as well as outside of this space to make it happen. It's been a great exercise, and it's been a hell of a learning experience for me, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Wonderful.
I would like to propose a thought question for you, for the both of you, actually. A couple of years ago, I asked the nerd community, the Blerd community, this question. And because of your book, because of what you're doing, I'd like to propose this question to you as well. It seems like for us as African Americans in this country, we tend to gravitate towards Japanese culture, more Asian culture, like anime and manga, and kind of that whole mythos of creativity. One year at DragonCon, I asked this question, and I never forget this answer. It was Jesse J. Holiday. I'd end up doing an interview with him, and I proposed this question. And he brought up that because there's a lack of people telling our stories from Africa, a lack of African American stories being told within these mediums, within anime and comics and manga, is kind of the catalyst of why we in this country tend to go to more other people's cultures and find connection there versus within our own. Because growing up, there was no stories of like Musa or anyone of that nature that wasn't just a fictional character like Jon Stewart or anything that could tell us about ourselves, where we were prior to 1619 in the world stage. Do you think if more people were to tell these stories, more African Americans or more Black people in period would want to gravitate more towards our stories, or is it kind of a competition of culture, if that makes sense?
I would say that personally, for me, looking for creative outlets and looking for stuff as a kid that to attach onto that was ethnic. For me, that like anime was ethnic because again, these were people that were not what I saw. They were again, it was cultural, and I think that's why so many of us during that era love martial arts films. I know all my uncles would be in a room watching Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies. You know what I'm saying? Because literally, like, it was our window into a different culture that was ethnic and that we could at least, feel that there was some connective tissue to. But then, what we come to now in the 2025s, the 2020s, I'll say, is that there's a lot of pushback from the anime and manga companies. Are saying that, no, we actually don't accept you as Black people cosplaying our character, being in our world, or we're not, if we are going to put you in our thing, we're going to make fun of you, or it's going to be a pictorial thing that is, more derogatory or satirical. You know what I'm saying? So I think now we more than ever have to put our money where our communities are the best possible way. And that's why I said, I think when Target's a main example, Target wasn't rocking with us. They were trying to use us for what our monetary engine could be, and then boom, we took our money out of Target, we put it in another place, and then they were hurt because of it, and they felt it. So I think we have to continue to do that. So if there are stories that are amazing, instead of going to the comic shop and getting the next issue of Absolute Batman, buy a copy of Musa Lion of Mali, musalionofmali.com, and support this book, because the more and more people we tell about it, the more and more people we get it to, the bigger we can build the IP, and then we can create the movies and the games and all that stuff that you're interested in that can affect kids at a young age. But comics is a great start. And I was going to also say that and I just lost my train of thought on that last piece that I wanted. Damn it, I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
But good day. Go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say, I second everything you say. And also tell the story. I got in trouble at a con not too long after Black Panther came out, because I was on a panel and I said that I would be happy to never have another Black Panther comic or movie if it meant Black people owned our image. And I got booed by a room full of Black people for saying that. And I still stand by it. Like I said, you should own the image of your gods. You should own your perception of yourself, as well as have control on the reins of how people perceive you. As a bona fide Black weeb my entire life, as a guy who's loved anime and manga, who's loved that Japanese stuff, I agree with everything TJ said. I'll also second it by saying we also tend to gravitate towards that stuff because they bite off of us first. Like when you are entering into a culture from the outside and you start seeing things that look familiar, you tend to stick around a little longer. And so I defy anyone who's ever watched an anime like Samurai Champloo to not understand why Black people rock with it. Like, that's just what it is. Like, you can't watch Yu Yu Hakusho. All they talk about is the drip and all that. Like, there's so much swagger that is just picked off of people in the diaspora and dropped into Japanese and Asian culture in general. And then we're often told, well, this space isn't for you. I was like, then why'd you copy it? Bruce Lee was famous for acting like all the Black dudes he hung out with. And that translates to us rocking with Bruce Lee in his movies. Like, yes, it was real fun to watch him be damn near superhuman on film, but his social circles was us. There's a give and a take there. The issue is that there are folks who want to pretend that there's no give and take, that one culture doesn't feed the other and vice versa. Like, we look at Dragon Ball and go, Piccolo's the best Black dad in fiction.
Right.
Exactly.
And we say that, and because it's true. But at the same time, Piccolo's just a green vegetable man from another planet whose dad or half self was like Satan or whatever. But they go, this isn't for you. And I'm like, huh? I saw something this week where a young Black cosplayer, a young female cosplayer, got into it online because a random white dude told her that she couldn't be the main character from Dandadan because that character is white. Never mind that in the story, the girl is a brownish skinned Japanese girl, a gyaru. She is pointed out in the story and often made fun of in the narrative, even for being a darker skinned Japanese girl. But this Black girl can't play her because the character's white. But then this becomes a conversation of why do so many characters in anime look like white people? Why is it that every major anime has a half German girl like Asuka Langley Soryu from Neon Genesis Evangelion? Like, there's a lot of nuance to it beyond just like Black people don't like being Black. No, we love being Black. That's why we find it everywhere we go, and we stick around when we find it.
I think the impact of specifically British colonialism on so many outlets of media caused a lot of communities of color that otherwise would be chilling on each other to look down on each other. I mean, because I'm a fan of one particular K-pop band, but I also like K-dramas and so on and so forth. So I've watched how people move online with all of this kind of thing. And, I also remember, some of the blaxploitation movies of the 60s and 70s, where we absolutely taken karate and not knowing the name. One of James Brown's favorite lyrics or famous lyrics, I don't know karate, but I know crazy. There's we have done our own share of not understanding a culture, but liking pieces of it. I think specifically Black American culture is a baseline for a whole lot of things. But Black American imagery, to your point about owning your image, I love the Black Panthers movies, but I get what you're saying. If we could own our own image, we wouldn't need a fake world, and seeing people you would say love our rhythm, but don't want our blues, so on and so forth. But the images that they've been seeing, I know specifically several Nigerians that their image of Black Americans before they came here was like New Jack City and don't be a menace to South Central, don't be a menace to society, right? And so the same way you had like Yellow Peril, if we could get back to the era of the Black Panthers where they were bringing together the Latin community and the various Asian communities in the United States and writ large across the world, it'd be a whole different story. And I think there'd be more cultural appreciation versus this who was first, that goes back and forth. We know who was first. But I mean, aside from that, I do think that all of us have a colonial mindset that has to be removed, deprogrammed, however you want to think of it, before we can really, really be free. Because sometimes as we're building art, it is still there, Yeah. So taking ourselves loose from that, I think, would free up a lot of energy and collaboration,
Yeah, it's true. And also one thing that's important, and I think this echoes a lot of what everyone's been saying. We also have just a lack of knowledge of self. Yeah. So that when we as Black people leave our community to go look for something cool, we don't realize that we're just picking up what we left somewhere. Black people in America, we created rock, gospel, the blues, all this stuff. And whenever we get sick of it, we drop it like a hashtag. And they pick it up and they go, look, Vanilla Ice was the best rapper ever. Like, no, that's not how it happened. Like, even when we talk about the martial arts and Kung Fu and where it came from, look up the Mantu arts in Kemet.
Yeah.
Like look up, we go, yoga's Indian. No, not really. Not like that. Not like you think.
You got to understand the migration into India, first of all.
Like Raphael said in Turtles 1990, cricket. Nobody understands cricket. Got to know what a trumpet is to understand cricket. And that's that kind of thing. That's what it is. We look at it and we go, they own it. And we don't have the self-esteem to own it. So it's theirs, right? It's theirs. Like, there are Black people who love K-pop. But we're being honest. I mean, my wife and I watch K-dramas on Netflix all the time. Vincenzo's the best one by far, I think.
You got to watch Bloodhounds.
Maybe it's on the list. But the thing is, K-pop is R&B for people that don't like Black people.
Yeah, literally, Teddy Riley went over there and was like, "Yeah, I got some beats for y'all. You want it?" Yeah,
exactly. That's all it is. But we look at it and we go, BTS, and I'm like, really? What about New Edition?
Dancing, dressing like us, all of that,
and then saying racist stuff. I'm like, what do you like? No, dude, you're not. But it really does tie to the fact that we don't know enough about ourselves, which is why a project like this I feel is very important. Because even if we don't say, hey, we went back in time, we recorded Mansa Musa in 8K and brought you the footage, at the very least you can read the book and go, I wonder how much of that was bullshit and how much wasn't, and then go learn something about yourself.
Yeah, we with the book want to spark the brain for a curiosity. We hope that after you guys read this book, you're thirsty and hungry for knowledge, and then hungry for the next issue, the next volume. So that's a big thing for us.
I've seen so many truly ignorant posts, and I'm not talking about ignorant like, oh, they so ignorant, but I mean ignorant like have no knowledge, no understanding. I see so many ignorant posts across social media where folks, I'm not even talking about like ancient history, like they don't know their parents or grandparents' story, let alone anything beyond. Like they know Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and scene, and don't know all of that. So I think there's another reason I want to share this with all of my peer groups and every group chat I'm in. They hit me with these good morning texts every day. I'm about to flood them with this in return.
Thank you. Yeah, I tell people, even in corporate America, I'm 3 generations out of slavery and 2 out of sharecropping, because I literally am. My wife grew up in a house around the corner from the plantation her family was on.
Wow. Oh, wow.
When we go back home, the plantation's still there, and she grew up in the house separated by a little park now. So her family never even left the plantation. She grew up in the house that her great-great-grandfather built when they were kicked off the property in 1866. And so they just kept rebuilding the house over and over again and trying to expand the land. And the city came in, bulldozed a bunch of black houses in between, and just put a park there. So her grandma's house was the one that got to stay.
They forever bulldozing us out for a park.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have Central Park.
Speaking of joy, I don't know if you saw this, but I found out something about Six Flags. And I tagged you in it because
before you talk about that, look into that a little bit more. Before you talk about that.
It brought up this topic I wanted to bring up of like what you just said, like how they constantly destroy like black communities and things within this country and kind of take us apart. Is more than just like what we're saying. Like we can bring up Lake Lanier, how that was a black town, so many different quarries and lakes that used to be just things that were built for us by us that were just taken away because once we start doing good in this country, the other people look at us and say that's not fair and they want to take it away from us. But yeah, I wasn't going to talk about the Six Flags thing, but just kind of lead up more to the bigger picture of it all. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and to your point about them wanting to take it away from us, it's not that they are, it is that they're jealous. It is that they don't like to see it, but also it gives lie to the basis of white supremacy, which is their identity. If we succeed, they don't exist. And so they look at it as say, that's why it's such an attack to them. You know, they're saving their own sense of self, and they have to destroy what we build because we're not supposed to be able to do that. They cannot exist as superior and living inferior at the same time. So they just kill it all, burn it all, bomb it all over and over again. The only good thing, not the only good thing, but in my front, the only good thing that integration did from us is dilute the target. You bombing us, you bombing my white neighbors too. You know, just it's the way I've always seen it.
Right. So in order to fight back against that in a country, and really a company, because countries have prime ministers and kings, companies have presidents and vice presidents. But in a country that is driven by, you know, vice and capitalism, the best thing you can do is to vote with your dollars. The best thing you can do is to be intentional with how you spend, to treat your wallet like a convent and the ballot like a whorehouse, so that, you know, they can come to you. And they come to you and they say, "Hey, I'll give you this," and you go, "What you got for me?" And in the meantime, you make sure your dollar circulates as much as it can, which is why it's very important that even during this broadcast, you go to MusaLionofMali.com and show your support, because you have to understand that if we don't make it ourselves, and I don't mean TJ and I mean us in general, if we don't make it, it won't get made. Michael Jackson is the greatest entertainer that's ever existed, but his name is Michael Jackson. So in 500 years, they will say he is white.
Yep. And they'll pull pictures too.
Yep. They'll look at his pictures and say he always looked like that. They won't say they drove him insane hanging out with all those people, Liza Minnelli and all that. It's important that we own and that we build, and that if they come to take it, we stand tall, stand firm, and we swing back in every way that is measurable. And that we say, hey, this is us. We're sick of warning you. When I was a kid, I wrote an X-Men comic that will never see the light of day. And it was when I realized this. My dad told me I was onto something, though. I wrote a line where Magneto said to a young mutant boy, if they will not respect your equality, allow them to fear your superiority. And that's how I feel about us. And that's what we have to do.
They're looking for your line again about the wallet and the voting box.
Oh, no. So you're supposed to treat your wallet like a convent and the ballot like a whorehouse. Man, you keep your money to you and your people, and you let them come to you, and they pay you for your vote.
Talk about it. That's why, guys, when you're at Comic-Cons and when you're walking around, resist the urge to buy another print of Spider-Man or to some licensed character that fattens the wallet of somebody else or their own company. And, you know, make it a point to rock with your people. And, you know, it's one of those things. When I'm at a con, I literally buy books from every black and brown person I can find. That's usually what I spend all my money on. And I have a library shelf filled with stuff, art books, mangas, comics, graphic novels, everything I can get my hands on. I buy regular prose fiction novels. There's so many great people out there making really cool stuff right now, and it's like a kind of a renaissance of sorts of creativity, this explosion. Everybody who was building and creating and cooking stuff up in the lab during the pandemic, and like, hey, I want to put this thing out, I want to try this thing, I've got this time in my hands. It was really a blessing in disguise to have that time back. And that's why I said resist the urge. Check what we got going on. MusaLionofMali.com. This book is fantastic. It's really a love letter to the diaspora, but it's entertaining, it's beautiful, it's fun. The artistry, the story, the intention behind it is something that you guys are going to get inspired by. You're going to love, and we are very, very excited to share this with you.
So you said that was MusaLionofMali.com. Was that it?
Yeah, so MusaLionofMali.com is going to direct you right to the Kickstarter. I've said it so many times it blurs into one word. But yeah, MusaLionofMali.com brings you right to the Kickstarter, forwards you to the main Kickstarter page. I could give you the whole Kickstarter link, but
no, this is good enough.
It's hard to remember. That's why we created the URL to go right to that page. So you'll have everything in Musa in one click.
I wish more creators would do that, because I see a lot of Kickstarters where they give you, the complete Kickstarter.com / whatever. I'm like, look, I'm not going to remember that. You need a shorter URL.
Yeah, listen, I came up with this idea solely to just circumvent, Facebook's algorithm, because when you first were doing Kickstarters, like during the pandemic, you could put the whole link and people would get it, click on it, take them right there. But like now when you put links, they hide the post. They don't make sure people don't see it. So you have to share it a million times, or that's why everybody puts it in the comments now. But the hack was putting the website link. And I think they figured that out too. So it's like, there's always trying to stay a step ahead of like what these platforms are on, because they don't necessarily want us to make money on the free.
Not without them making money too. So, guys, I personally have enjoyed this conversation. I wasn't joking earlier when I said y'all gonna be sick of me, because I am going to absolutely reach out to y'all after I back at the level I promised, because I'm doing that as soon as we hang up. That's what adult money is for.
He is 100% telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because I have got to be in this next book.
Any final questions? Any final parting words from our panelists here?
I am beyond grateful, appreciative that I got a chance to build with y'all. I've been friends with Mo and John for many years. I love what they're doing. Shout out to them for creating this incredible platform. They're in Egypt right now, winning, having a great time, building, enriching themselves, enriching their IPs and the stuff that they're cooking up. I'm really proud of them as friends and colleagues. I love them. Shout out to them. Mark and Mouse, I see y'all hustling, grinding out in the streets at these cons, getting the interviews, just working hard. And I just admire what you're doing, man. That's why I got your card on my desk. Like I'm tapping in with you. I'm staying connected with what you're building, and very excited. And it was even doper to see that y'all are connected. Y'all did the Voltron thing. You got a collective podcast happening. Joy, you're amazing. Thank you. And shout out to Danny. Appreciate you so much. Listen, I had a great time. Guys, please check out our book. You're going to love it. Everybody who's watching, get this book. We have tiers as low as $5. If you can only do 5, then do 5. But if you can do 500, do that too. Anything in between. There's the entire library of Ray Comics stuff is available, digital, physical. There's t-shirts. There's a bunch of really cool stuff that we can't wait to get in your hands. Mark's got a copy of one of those books, which I absolutely, one of my favorites. Joystick Angels has music. So like, we're trying to bring you some heat. So just, invest in us and we'll take you to the promised land. Most definitely.
Nice.
I want to thank everyone for an excellent conversation. I want to thank you all for welcoming me onto your platform as a newcomer. Like Joy said, I will also say y'all gonna be sick of me. This is the first major project, but I got a lot in the hopper. I have a lot of ideas I've been sitting on, and I've really enjoyed this process and this chance to grow in a different way, to challenge myself in a different way, and to see everyone in this space, to get to know what you all are doing, to see what you're building, to gain a new appreciation for the work that you do, not only evangelizing, but also just owning the culture. Like it's part and parcel of what we're talking about. It's cool to be a fan. It's even more fun, and it's even more important to be on the supply side of what we're doing as content creators. So my hat's off to every one of you on this podcast and around the world that are taking the time to make sure people know what's going on, what's popping, and what's hot. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm so happy you two were able to come on. There's so much more that we could get into, like with Ray Comics, Comic Shop. Ade, I saw that you were a game developer. I would love to jump down that rabbit hole with you. So you are both welcome to come back on the show anytime and just tell your life story, because I am intrigued about learning about other nerds and how they got to where they are in nerddom. But thank you both so much for coming on. What's that website again for those who didn't quite get it, who want to come and support? What's the website?
Musa, lionofmali.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. But thank y'all so much for coming on again. This has been such actually, I want to say a surprise episode, because you came and hit me up and we just had to squeeze it in and make it work. So I want to make sure we got it in, but thank you for coming on. Thank everybody for watching Blerdkast Live. Thank Joy and Moose for holding it down in my emergency absence. Thank y'all so much. Next week, we got something special for y'all because Anime Week in Atlanta's this weekend, and next Monday we'll be going live at our regular time, 8 p.m. for the AWA post show. So until then, we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Hey.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves a republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will. So if you put Hawaii in a perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it,